Welcome back to Sage Connections. What are the true limits of the human mind and body, and what happens when you push far beyond them? Today, I'm joined by JD Tremblay, an ultra endurance athlete, speaker, and creator of the Hungry Warrior philosophy. He is one of only a few people in the world to complete the EpicDeca 10 Ironman triathlons in 10 consecutive days. In this episode, we dive into resilience, discipline, and what it really takes to perform at the highest level, not just in sport, but in life. Enjoy. So, JD, you've done something that very few humans on Earth have ever done. The 10 Ironman distance triathlons in 10 days. So, the Epic Deca. What did that experience teach you about the limits of the human mind?
That we can push further than really we can comprehend. I thought that 10 Ironman in 10 days on 6 Hawaiian Island, it felt insane. One of my friend was training for a 33 kilometer swim. And for him, he's been eyeing this event for such a long time. And for me, I just picked it up like this. I just wanted to go. And that's what it taught me. It taught me that we can achieve a lot more than what we can if we have faith.
Okay. And what made you, I mean, I've been reading your book and it's wonderful, and we'll definitely have a link to it in the show notes. But can you explain to people what made you even get into sort of extreme endurance sports?
Yeah, I had a lot of mental challenges, and I don't really want to say that I was anything special. I think we all live different lives and live with different reactions according to these stimuli. And to me, I reacted in a way that I wanted to push the boundaries, and I also wanted to heal my systems. So by going into ultra endurance events, I discovered that by moving the body and going through these structured workouts, I was essentially allowing the body to heal in a way that was healthy.
Okay. So it's kind of helping you mentally get through some challenges by being physically active and sort of pushing your body to limits, and that kind of healed your mind, it sounds like.
Yeah, definitely. We use a system called reset now that I understand how it works. And really, reset starts with regulating your energy. So I did not know at that time that I was essentially helping my body reset and regulate, but now I'm doing it at a conscious level. So before it used to be completely unregulated, or there was an imbalance between what I was doing with my workouts versus what now I want to do. Now I choose my workouts, and I choose when I will have a sleep schedule that will match my my workouts, that will match my business. I choose. But back then, I was not choosing. I was just unregulated and making it so I could survive. Now I'm doing it more at a conscious level.
Okay. So for people who may not understand the magnitude of the Epic Deca, can you describe what those 10 days were actually like physically and mentally? I mean, first of all, can you tell people like what an Ironman is, like the distances, so they can get some context into how someone could do that 10 days in a row?
Yeah, the Ironman is a triathlon event, which is a swim, a bike, and run. The swim is 2.4 miles of swimming, 112 miles of cycling, and then you finish it off with a marathon, which is always the fun part when all your body is already in pain, and then you finish it off by running a marathon. It was created by the Epic 5 company, and they do it every year where they're doing 5 Ironman in 5 days on 5 Hawaiian Island. There's about 40 people, give or take, that achieve that event. And for their 10-year anniversary, they decided to do the DECA. So you time those distances by 10. For me, when I got there, I knew I had done all of the training. I had prepared mentally, physically, I was prepared. I had this structured, and you look at the pictures, every participant that we took a group picture, and I was the most confident going in. I knew that unless there was a giant storm that would, or what are they called, those godlike events where you you have like a giant storm and it stops you. That was the only way that I was going to not finish. For me, I was going to put everything on the line, and that's what I did. The first day, I was very confident. Finish the swim, the bike, the run. Your body hurts, and then the second day, it hurts even more because now you have almost no rest. And what made it that it's only 3 people in the world is because not only do we finish an Ironman-distance, but we also have to go from one island to the next. And then we're not flying private. So we have to go through TSA. We have to get everything checked in. Um, so for me, I had to allow my team to do their job and not focus so much on the aspect of the EpicDeca, because for me, I just focused on the recovery. I was sleeping at an airport. There's a picture of me where I have a little blanket and I'm sleeping on the floor of an airport, and I don't care if people are looking at me, or I just had to focus on the race and recovery. Every single bit of time that I would have, I would close my eyes and I would try to sleep as much as possible. And they were the best sleep of my life.
I bet. I bet. So, what was the hardest part of all of that mentally? Was it the pain? Was it the exhaustion, the doubt? Was there doubt? Well, I think you said that you were very confident, but was there anything else?
For me, I was confident that I would finish. I got on day 4. Day 4 was the hardest mentally for me. And that's because I only had, I did not have any sleep for 2 days. Well, I had 45 minutes, but 45 minutes in 2 days. And my body was in such excruciating pain that I had difficulty walking. I got to the airport and my crew put me in a wheelchair to push me towards my flight. And it was also my birthday. Someone had stole my pants. So and then yeah, to top it all up, my hoodie got stolen as well. So I did not even have a shirt. And to minimize on the gear, I did not have even spare clothes. So now I'm in a girl's hoodie, in my underwear, in a wheelchair. My face is burned. I'm on 4 Ironman. I don't even know if I can keep going. And people are wishing me a happy birthday. So I I got to the next island. Then my crew chief knew it was in my preparation document. I prepared 29 pages of everything that would happen or could happen. And in it was, I will not quit. Like, there's no way that I'm quitting. So she went to get the rental car. The other part of the crew went to get the luggage. And when I got into the vehicle, she handed me my bag for swimming and she said, You're starting 20 minutes in 20 minutes. But I knew from a men's perspective that I could not show any form of pain, any form of emotions. So I remember going on my bike and just I had this breakdown, but I could not tell my team. I just did not rely on anyone at that time. They were there to do their job, and I saw myself as the leader. So I broke down when got on the bike because I did the swim without my legs, I just swam with my arms. And then after I got on the bike, I broke down, but I I called my coach, and my coach, he said, JD, just do it one step at a time. Like, it's just, he's done some of these large events. So he was able to advise me on that. And he said, just put one foot in front of the other and you'll see. Just keep going for another hour and then you'll see how it goes. And after that hour, there was there was not a time where I wanted to quit, but it was so for me it was the magnitude of it, the understanding that you're at the point of being in a wheelchair. So I did not want to quit, but to put your body through such pain to reach, like, what are you trying to achieve? There's nothing at the end. There's no prize purse. You're not getting any money from it. You just spent $100,000. I sold my house to get there. So to me, I had nowhere to go. I had invested everything into this race, but for what? And now I'm in a wheelchair. It's your birthday, and with complete strangers too. I did not really know these people. So
So
you're with
what,
strange. Yeah.
yeah, so what made you, I mean, considering everything you just said, what made you want to do this?
I wanted to be different. I wanted to push the human limits. I wanted to push. I wanted, yeah, I wanted to be different. I knew that it was, well, okay. At first, I thought I'm going to be rich and I'm going to be famous. And that's what drove me. I thought, well, this is going to happen. And so the second part of the mental breakdown was the day 10. At the end of it, I looked at my social media and nobody congratulates you. You don't have any followers. There's nothing at the end. There's nothing. You don't have you have to work for it. And so that to me was the somewhat of a shocker. I was surprised that this would happen. So I thought there was something behind it. I saw a lot of other people. I saw David Goggins, Rich Roll, somewhat get out of these mental struggles through doing these events that would eventually now lead them to become, to have a platform and to have an impact in the world. So, and then I had to over the years find where my impact would fit in with the audience that is matching what my message is. So for example, David Goggins, he says some things that are similar to Rich Roll, and those were the two somewhat models that I had. Rich Roll, who did the Epic Five, created it, and eventually ended up with a podcast. And the Rich Roll podcast is another platform that he has to reach his audience and his target market. And that was to me a surprise. I had to eventually figure out what my impact, or what my audience was, what is your message, and to build that. So yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah. So it's interesting. There's a couple interesting points there. Have you heard of a Vipassana sit, like meditation? Have you heard of
About
that? People go and meditate for 10 days.
oh, okay, 10 days of
Have,
meditation.
have you heard of that?
No.
Okay. So it's very interesting because it's also sort of different feat of endurance, I guess, because you're not actually like pushing your body to its extremes, but it still can feel that way when you're sitting with your sort of your mind and only your mind for 10 days. And what people usually say is that third and fourth day are actually also the most difficult. So it's interesting that that it sort of correlates. It's almost like the biggest detox happens around that time for the body and the mind. And the way that you kind of described it, where like, just do one more step, one more hour is such a beautiful metaphor for how, you can sort of apply that to anything, right? To business, to yeah, anything physical, to relationships, anything. Sometimes when it gets so difficult and you feel like you just can't, sometimes it is just putting, one foot in front of the other and seeing where that takes you. So, do you feel like that's the biggest lesson that you've learned from doing an event like that?
The event, that's one of them for sure. That's definitely one of them, that I learned to keep going and not giving up. I learned that I need to set goals much higher than my expectations are. I think that I was underselling myself. I was putting myself in a box where I thought I achieved the peak when I reached all of these Ironman. I had a previous background of uh, doing all of these Ultramen. And when I reached the EpicDeca, I definitely now see that the human body is able to accomplish so much more. And we put our goals so low that we're achieving, like very often we're achieving our goals. But if we set our goals to scare us, then we're able to accomplish so much more. So
Yeah.
that is another huge lesson that I learned.
You talk about the hungry warrior mindset, and that's the name of your company as well, correct? Yeah.
Hungry Warrior Academy, correct? Yes.
Yeah. So what does that phrase really mean to you? And how can someone cultivate that mindset in everyday life?
It's It was built on faith and the story of David and Goliath, because in the story, David goes to give bread to his brothers who are at war. They are warriors. They have the equipment. They have they have the training. They are soldiers. They are warriors in the army. But when the giant comes, which in the Bible is called Goliath, the only person that has enough faith to stand in front of that giant, and he stood in front of that giant with God, and he stood with confidence in front of that giant with a slingshot and a few rocks. So that mentality is based on the DECA system that we use, and we have those pillars of Epic, and the pillars that we have is based on eternal restoration. So the E for Epic, eternal restoration, where you're cultivating your faith. You have the P, which is physical, because if you don't have a healthy body, if you're not able to regulate your systems, then how are you even able to achieve something even greater? And that's for everybody, whether you are in a business settings or even an ultra endurance athlete, it doesn't matter. You have to get a healthy body to be able to achieve even more or even last a long time. And then you have the I, which is the identity. So where is your identity rooted? And then you have the community. So those are our four pillars where we are creating some or building the strong mentality of the hungry warrior.
Okay. So what do you think most people misunderstand about success and high performance?
Oh, definitely that many people talk about pushing harder when really it's about proper regulation. So I would say quality over quantity definitely is the tool that many people are talking about. What's the better brand of coffee, or what's the best energy drink, or your favorite, most people's favorite hormone is testosterone. So again, the hormone for drive, for success, and really you're going to get way more success by my favorite hormone is cortisol. It's more the stress hormone, but again, the if you're able to regulate it, then um, you're able to relax. So it's about recovery more than just the drive. So I would say success isn't done only in one day, it's done in a long endurance format. And people think that success is achieved by driving all of your biomarkers to their optimal level when really you should regulate your systems.
So cortisol is a stress hormone, right? Like, yeah. So you're saying that maybe you're someone or because I talk a lot about sort of how we have an excess of stress that causes, as a physical therapist, where I
Mhm.
see a lot of the chronic symptoms and issues come from mismanagement of stress or sort of even lack of acknowledgement of stress. And but are you saying that stress actually pushes you? I mean, that's definitely a thing. Sometimes people need, the stress of a close deadline to be productive in whatever it is, right? Like writing a paper in school or, finishing your taxes or something like that, right? Is that what you're saying? That stress can be utilized in a positive way to kind of propel you forward in a goal?
Well, finishing your taxes would be more on the side of dopamine release. Cortisol, the way, so let's take cold plunges, for example. As soon as you get into a cold plunge, your cortisol level will rise. But if you are able to, over time, build up this resilience, this endurance, what happens is that you're able to move quite faster between your sympathetic system to your parasympathetic system. So you're able to move from a high alert state where your cortisol level is high and you're able to lower it much rapidly. So that's the difference between an elite athlete or someone who's been regulating their system to someone who is reacting or more in a reactive state or hasn't trained their systems. So we're looking at sometimes data like heart rate variabilities where you are able to see that the person is much calmer in a longer state, even though they're under stress. So that's another um, set of data that we might be looking at. But when you look at cortisol, everyone's spikes, and say everyone, okay, most people, but everyone spikes in the morning. And then over the day, you're supposed to decrease all the way to when you go to bed. But then what happened is that a lot of people go from waking up in the morning with a high cortisol level, and then they just go from stress to stress to stress to stress. If they train their system and regulate it, that's why I love it, is because you can go from stress to stress to stress, but if you're able to decrease it quite rapidly, then you're able to move to a larger stressor. So even though it's high in the morning, it's going to be low at night regardless, but you're able to move from one to the next to another one. And then you're able to take on a bigger task, a much larger stressor, because you're able to, for a longer period. That's what I mean, for a longer period, because you're able to decrease your stress level much faster than other people who did not train in that format.
So can you give a couple daily habits that somebody can implement today that can help regulate their system like that, where they can go from a very stressful event to their parasympathetic system where they are relaxing and then jump back into another meeting or whatever it is that stresses them out?
Yeah, I talked about the reset acronym that we use, which is R is for regulate your energy. So we're talking about sleep. What is your sleep pattern? What do you need for? Uh, a lot of research show 8 hours, but for the majority of people, they need the 8 hours, but they're unable to get it because of their schedule. So, what is necessary for your schedule? My son, he sleeps 12 hours. And if he does not get 12 hours, I know that his day is completely thrown off. So, for him, it's working. For other people, it's quite unlikely that most people that are listening are able to get 12 hours. And if they can, that's great. But
Is he a teenager
again,
by chance?
it's what?
Is he a teenager by chance?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
And
I think we all
even
remember the 12-hour stretches back then, but
exactly, he needs that.
yeah.
In my opinion, that's what he does. He needs a lot more sleep. So, um, we're talking about hydration, blood sugar stability. So, monitoring that. See, a lot of people are talking about getting a smoothie in the morning, but the smoothie in the morning spikes your cortisol level even higher. It spikes. So now you're adding sugar in the morning, which might not be exactly what you need. So based on your requirements, then people can regulate their energy level based on what they need. Right? For some people, they're going with more fat and protein because they want to last the entire day. If all of a sudden I'm working out in the morning, then a smoothie would work. But if I'm not going out for a workout or I'm not spending that energy rapidly, then a smoothie might not be what your body is looking at. Um, the E is for um, like the environment. Okay, so we're talking about removing all the interference of your environment that could be negatively impacting your day. And then you have S, which is for supply. So you supply the foundation. We're talking about the proper nutrients, even the proper oxygen. What is your light exposure? Waking up in the morning, trying to get some sunlight. We work now in some. I mean, I'm blessed that I work with windows, but there's a lot of people that don't work with sunlight. They don't. They work indoor and they close the curtains and they're not getting the proper sunlight. The next E is for to enable the adaptation. So allow your system to adapt because it takes time to build this resilience. You're not going to do it overnight. And and T is for train this system. So if people are remembering this acronym and putting it into practice, then they're able to put it in practice for their own personal format or schedule.
Yeah, very cool. Well, thank you so much. This was fascinating to talk to somebody who's kind of put their body into such extreme states and sort of come out with all these lessons learned and it's absolutely fascinating. So thank you so much for speaking to me and hopefully we'll hear from you soon doing other amazing things.
Thank you, Luba, for having me.
Thank you so much to JD Tremblay for joining me today and for sharing his insights and experiences. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe, share it with someone who could benefit from it, and leave a review. It really helps us grow this community and continue bringing you these conversations. And if there's one thing to take away from today's conversation, it's that you're capable of far more than you think. As always, take care of your health and your wellness.